tinfoil.
Well, it is. I mean, it's again, it just strikes me that you're bringing down the wrong target.
Yeah.
So anyway, the bringing down Argo 16 is just, to me, just doesn't send any message at all.
Yeah.
I mean, you
I
don't
agree.
bomb, so they're not the guys. So the Operation Gladio one, but there's another Gladio angle, which is this. It's entirely possible that Argo 16 really was transporting stuff for Operation Gladio. It's entirely possible that day when ostensibly, if I can use that word again, they were supposed to be going off on a radar sniffing mission over the Adriatic. Maybe that was a cover for something else. Maybe they were actually taking some armaments and something else from Venice to somewhere for Operation Gladio.
Dropping packages,
weapons, whatever. So maybe the plan was to sort of go off their usual route down the Adriatic, even do a little radar sniffing on the way, and then land wherever they're supposed to, offload their cargo. And supposing some of this cargo was a little volatile, or somebody screwed up and armed something that they shouldn't have armed inadvertently, and it blows up.
We've talked about that before.
Yeah.
You have to package and properly stow certain materials on a plane to prevent them from going off.
Yeah. And so, what if that was actually their main mission that day, was not even radar, but to transport some stuff secretly. Mm-hmm. And then, oopsie, something blew up on the plane.
Two things vibrated together on takeoff and caused it combusted,
things like that could happen. We're talking about
they have
volatile things like weapons. So actually, I kind of like this theory because, to me, I mean, the stuff about the more conspiratorial stuff, like the Mossad and Operation Gladio, like blowing it up on purpose, they don't make a lot of sense. Does that?
I would agree.
Would you guys say that they just don't make much sense?
Yeah, I don't think so.
But then again, if the cause was something mundane like pilot error or mechanical,
that's super lame.
That's so mundane. Why would this stuff still be classified?
And I still question it because they went down so fast, and there was no communication that we can find record of.
Yeah. So this makes me wonder if, and it wasn't even necessarily weapons for Operation Gladio. It could have been something else, but. If maybe their mission that day to sniff radars was just a cover for something else, well, what might that have been? Mm-hmm. And could whatever it was they were carrying on the plane have brought that plane down that day?
Too bad we can't just file a Freedom of Information request and call it done.
No,
well, we know the documents are gone.
Yeah.
A lot of documents have disappeared. The wreckage itself was chopped up and sold for scrap, like, shortly after the wreck. They didn't keep it around for any period of time at all, really.
Which is a little suspicious again.
Well, really, huh?
Yeah.
You'd think?
Yeah.
Of course, this is Italy. They don't have as much room as America has.
Yeah, it's not as if they have this vast tract of land in the middle of their country that is thousands upon thousands of miles and nobody lives there, so let's just put old defunct airplanes on it.
Absolutely, that's what we do here.
It's true.
Yeah.
So any more theories?
Well, there's the chupacabra theory. Yeah.
He was smoking on the plane while the red light said no smoking.
Yeah.
That's what caused
He
it
was
to go
using
down.
his cell phone.
No,
Hadn't
actually,
properly turned it off.
Well, I got this theory from one of my Mossad contacts.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was asking about this, and he was like, "Oh no, Joe, you are all wrong. It was chupacabra." Well, apparently what happened is they were taking Agent Chupi to train some Operation Gladio guys just in the arts of fiendishness and depravity. And things were going to be all good, and then they got up to about 2,500 feet, and suddenly Chupi kind of forgot himself for a moment, kind of went medieval on the pilot and the co-pilot, And no, I'm just kidding. I just haven't implicated Chupi in so long. I feel kind of bad for our Chupi fans, so I had to throw that one in there. So anyway, I'm going to go with they had something in their hold that maybe shouldn't have been there. Maybe it wasn't stowed quite correctly, and it kind of caused a catastrophic failure. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
but
I
that's
agree.
just me.
Totally agree.
Okay, well, we've got all that out of the way. Now it's time for the important stuff, which is all this housekeeping. I know that at least somebody wants to send me an email about this, so let me get that out of the way first. Our email is thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com. So, if you know about Argo 16, the real story, tell us. We'd really appreciate hearing it. We also, of course, have a website, which surprisingly is called thinkingsidewayspodcast.com. And also, well, of course, on our website, we have our episodes out there. You can listen to them and unfortunately no comments anymore, but you can still look at our fabulous website and listen to the episodes. It's awesome. And also, you can find us on iTunes, where you can subscribe. You can also give us a rating and a review. Preferably, a good rating and a good review. We like those. And of course, you can stream us everywhere, Google Play especially, but there's a lot of other sites too. And you probably already know about that anyway, so why am I telling you? I don't know. There's this thing called social media. You probably heard about this. Facebook, Twitter, and Reddit. We're out there on Facebook. We have a group and we have a page, so join the group. And like the page?
Yep.
Or do you like the group and join the page?
Other way around.
Okay, all right, there we go.
Get it right the first time.
Yeah, and we're, of course, also on Twitter, where we are thinking sideways. No G there. And Devin is our most serious practitioner of the Twitter.
Me.
Yeah. So send Devin a tweet. And last of all, we have a subreddit. You guys have all heard of Reddit? Well, we have our own subreddit, our very own subreddit called Thinking Sideways.
It is thousands of acres of land where people store defunct airplanes on.
That's literally what it is.
That is what Reddit is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot.
That's what our
subreddit is.
Our subreddit
is. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, that's a good analogy. Or was that literally true?
It's literally true.
Oh, okay.
I'll take you there sometime.
All right. Yeah, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
Can we fly? What else? Merchandise. I know you've heard this once and you're just thinking, oh my God, I want a t-shirt so bad. Well, thank God there are places you can get t-shirts and mugs, stickers, all kinds of stuff. With Zazzle, Redbubble also. They have all this stuff. And you will find that there's links to them in our website on the right-hand side. So go out there and just buy. Do all your Christmas shopping now. And that's about it for me for this week. Again, if you have any special insights into Argo 16, love to hear them. And until next week, arrivederci.
Oh, I got nothing. We're just going down.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Don't call me Shirley.
Hey guys, exciting news. I'm really stoked about this. On March 7th at noon Pacific Standard Time, Team Sideways is going to host an AMA on the Unresolved Mysteries subreddit on Reddit. Pretty exciting. Right?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So the mods will post an announcement a week prior, so if you can't join us at that time, at that date, you can post your questions there. Please don't email us questions. We'll lose them and forget them.
For sure.
Let's try and contain this just to Reddit, but we're super excited. And so if you can join us.
March 7th, 2015.
March 7th, 2015, sorry. Just in case somebody, 5 years from now is listening to this episode. Not 2017. This is not Treat Yourself 2017. Sorry.
Thinking Sideways.
I don't understand.
Does not compute.
You never know.
Insufficient data to formulate a slide.
Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Hey guys, what's up? Thinking Sideways podcast. I'm Devin, hosting super well. Joined by my co-hosts,
Joe.
And
Steve.
Yeah. Here's one for you.
What?
In boys were hunting rabbits in the northeast area of Arthur's Seat, Edinburgh. Pro tip: if you are boys hunting and you find something even remotely weird, just walk away.
Mm-hmm.
Just walk away. The number of cases that we cover that start out in this way is mind-boggling to me. Truly.
Kids find something and screw
It's
it up.
boys, specifically young boys. Groups of young boys find something and then think, oh, I know. Let's go investigate that.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why?
Because they're boys. The 10-year-old boy in me completely identifies with the boys in this
Yeah.
story.
That's
Absolutely.
fair.
If you've got the potential to kick off a really cool unsolved mystery, then you should not turn your back on that, as long as it doesn't involve you getting killed.
Fair.
No, it's mostly just playing with stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And throwing stuff.
I just think we should start keeping a counter.
Well, yeah. Although these kids were kind of jerks.
Yeah,
But
they
we'll
were.
get into that later.
Yeah, so, okay. The boys were hunting wabbits.
Wabbits?
Kill the wabbit.
Oh, wow.
Kill the wabbit.
Kill the wabbit. Kill the wabbit. And they came across a cave. Zoinks, they said. Better check that out. So they did. Inside, they found 17 small caskets in a pile.
Oh, and by the way, this wasn't really a cave. It was kind of like a hole inside, in the side of the hillside.
My story's so much better.
I know, a cave is cool.
Cave is cool. No, it was.
And
It
they
was
found,
kind of
an
alcove.
old torch, and they lit the torch, and they walked into the cave, but no, it didn't really happen that way.
No.
And it didn't happen that way.
Yeah.
It was kind of an alcove area.
Yeah, there was a piece of slate covering it.
Yeah.
Some stories say that there were like 3 pieces of slate covering it.
I don't know. There were 17 small caskets in a pile, 8 on the bottom, 8 in the middle, and 1 on top. And upon further investigation, guys, so smart, they found that the caskets contained a small wooden doll in each one, carved to look like a human, clothed in small handmade garments. The dolls were said to be about the size of an adult finger, so 3 or 4 inches long.
The doll, not the cask.
Yeah, the doll.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Being boys, dumb, stupid boys.
Hey.
I'm gonna watch it.
Instead of running to the police or the adult with this find, they decided, oh, you know what would be awesome? Let's just throw these things at each other.
This is the equivalent of a dirt wad fight. You find something and you throw it at your friend to make them run and scream.
Yeah, I mean,
this is why the 10-year-old boy in me loves this story so much.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, at that age, I probably would have done the same thing, actually.
Yeah.
I would have been a total jerk.
Well, because of this, only 8 of these dolls remain to this day.
Yeah,
They were destroyed. Most of them were destroyed.
little
Bad
jerks.
boys.
Yeah. And before we go much further, this is the Arthur Seat murder dolls. And it was a listener suggestion about 1 million years ago from Thomas. So
Hey,
thank
thanks,
you,
Thomas.
All right. Ready to keep going?
Yeah,
I
let's
don't
do
know.
it.
This is kind of creeping me out.
Oh, it's kind of creepy.
Boys throwing caskets at each other creeps you out?
Little
Well,
tiny caskets.
It gets a little creepier.
Oh, that's true.
A little creepier, maybe. Anyhow, it's not clear how the 8 remaining caskets that did made it back to civilization.
In one piece?
In any kind of sense. The boys were never questioned. They never gave any statements. It's unclear if they told their school teacher or he overheard them talking about how much fun it was that they were throwing coffins at each other.
Was it the school teacher or their headmaster?
Oh, maybe their head.
I thought it was the headmaster.
Somebody involved in school
Okay,
Janitor.
who happened to also be an amateur archaeologist.
because that's what you did in those days.
Right. So he heard the boys, or the boys told him, or something. Maybe one of the boys had a black eye, and he was like, wow, that happened. And he was like, oh, this dude threw a coffin at me. I didn't know it happened. And he was like, okay, well, tell me more. Either way, somehow the dolls made it back. And again, it's not clear even if it was only the 8 dolls or all of the dolls or what happened, but only 8 of them really survived.
Yeah, things have a way of sort of like disappearing.
Yeah. Let's talk about the dolls for a second.
Let's.
More, I guess a little more. We've talked about them a little bit already. There are some reports that there are both male and female dolls, but I don't actually think that's the case.
I would agree with this.
And like I said, only 8 of the dolls survived, but none of them, as far as I can tell, were dressed as women. And let's be fair, if you're going to make tiny little doll clothes, it's way easier to make a skirt than it is to make little trousers, but they all have little trousers on. At least the ones that weren't decayed.
Yeah, they weren't really trousers though, right, with legs, because I mean these things didn't have individual legs.
Yeah, they did. They had, they had a pair of legs. They weren't just like a stub that had some kind of feature carved into them
Yeah,
to give
no,
the
they
appearance.
were
They were
different
2
legs.
individual legs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And little pants on them.
Little pants on them. The dolls in the bottom of the garments were rotting away or totally rotted away. You can see in some of the pictures the middle tier seems to have looked more recent, and the top one apparently looked almost brand new. And again, in fairness, it's not clear how this information was relayed.
Yeah, the kids probably upset the site quite a bit when they pillaged it so they could throw stuff at each other.
Yeah.
So,
And these were found in Arthur's Seat, which is in Edinburgh, Scotland. Is that right?
Yeah.
Did you do any research on that site by chance?
Like Pertaining to what?
Well, I pulled a Joe, and I went Google mapping, and then I started researching it. Did you know that that's actually an old volcano?
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, it's also only about 2 miles away from the ocean.
Yeah.
The North Sea. Sorry, not the ocean.
It's a really weird raised chunk of earth in the middle of a town. So it's just it was really interesting to me.
Yeah.
That's why I was just asking.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool little spot. It's one of the only fully green spots on Google Maps in Edinburgh.
Because the rest is a town.
Back to the dolls.
Oh, sorry.
That's good. There were 2 different kinds of coffins. One carved more rounded, one a little more square. The different kinds of coffins, however, don't seem to have been exclusive by tier. They were all intermingled.
And this is, I saw this in the photos. People might not understand this. When you say rounded versus square, the square was really more just a rectangle, just simple straight pieces of wood.
Yeah.
And the rounded, it only looked like somebody had basically carved off the corners to smooth it out a little bit. So that was the only style difference I saw.
That was my impression too.
Okay, just
not that some of them were circles and some of them were rectangles.
it'd be weird.
Yeah, that would be super weird. It also seems that the dolls were not actually made for this purpose. Many of the dolls were missing limbs, arms specifically. They all had their legs, I think, so that they would fit inside the coffins. And in fact, it's a bit odd that the coffins weren't made to the size of the dolls.
That's one of the things that sort of made me wonder too.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like maybe they were always meant to be together. But the dolls do seem to have been from the same set. They all seem to be almost identical. The theory is that they were a set of soldiers, toy soldiers. There were markings around the feet that looked like they had once been painted, like they were little booties, black booties.
Were they painted or were they blackened? I got the impression that they were blackened almost with soot or a candle or something.
That's a cheaper way to do it. You just grab a chunk of charcoal out of the fire, you know?
Well, yeah, I know, and this is why I'm asking. I never saw anything that said specifically. Some said they were black and some said they were blackened.
Yeah,
so
that was my too. So I just said painted, but you're probably right. It probably was something more like charcoal or something like that, which wouldn't last as long, but who cares?
Yeah.
They weren't worried about that.
Early 1800s. The legs were carved in a way that seemed to denote kind of a rigid upward standing pose.
Like standing at attention if you're a toy soldier.
Yeah. And in fact, upon further inspection, it was discovered that they would stand straight on their own if a small amount of weight was added to the front of them, like a musket.
Well, the arms that were missing would have held a musket.
Or it would have been on like a bandolier across their chest or something.
Oh, yeah. Make a tripod, kind of.
No. Like slung across their chest, just like hanging there.
Oh, so it wasn't actually going to touch the ground. Okay, I got the impression that it was that you see soldiers, holding their gun against the ground, so they make a tripod formation.
No, that wasn't my sense. It was that they would have had something else lashed them.
I will believe you because I'm not positive.
Sure.
I didn't go as far down in this one.
Yeah, that's probably true. It was, like I said, they were probably toy soldiers and they probably had muskets or something like that. So they would stand upright in that situation. And quickly, I want to address the rotting.
Because the
different
bottom,
tiers.
middle, and then the top.
It was initially suggested that perhaps they were of 3 different ages. That the bottom ones had been placed much earlier than the middle one. Or that perhaps the top tier was in a work in progress or whatever. But I do want to just mention anybody who's ever had like a wood pile may know that things rot from the bottom.
Because that's where the moisture is at?
So those would have, even if they'd all been placed at the same time, would have absolutely rotted much quicker and would have looked as though they were much older than the middle and top ones. Tiers. Tiers? We'll call them tiers.
Yeah, tiers is good.
Yeah, because you're going to have fungus and bugs and just plain water damage in general to that wood. Yeah. It makes total sense.
Yeah. So like I said, there was the original thought that they had been placed at different times. I don't think that's true. I think it was probably at the same time. maybe a short period of time, but definitely no more than 12 years, which I guess is kind of a long period of time.
That is kind of a long period of time.
A bit of time, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, if it was me doing this, I would have done it all at once just to save myself a lot of trips up the mountainside.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Well, but that's inferring that if somebody's putting these in that location for a specific reason, that it's one reason and not a reason that reoccurs over a period of time. Because I know some of the reasons that they would happen, we're going to talk about in the theory section. So that's a big presumption
I know.
to say I'm going to do it just this way because it's easiest.
No, actually, what I really would have done is pitched them out in the trash. But
Yeah, not
These
buried
toy
them in the
soldiers
first
are
place.
broken.
I wouldn't have gotten the hassle of making them little coffins. I would have just tossed them. But,
Giving them to Goodwill or something.
Obviously, yeah. Obviously, I've got
Jeez.
different motivations than whoever put these things there.
And here's where I get to actually nerd out a little bit to help justify my no longer than 12 years thing. I'm really excited about this. I am a bit of a historical fashion buff. You two know, sitting in this room with me. And
This is where the dudes don't talk anymore.
Yeah.
there was a lot of analysis of the textiles and notions. And notions are like thread and buttons and the other miscellaneous things other than just the cloth that you would use to create something, in case you didn't know what those things were. Anyways, there was a lot of analysis happening on that aspect of the dolls, since it's pretty well recognized that they probably were toy soldiers and they came from the same set. It's hard to glean a date from that because they could have been 50, 100 years old by the time they were placed in the coffin. So they thought, well, let's look at the fabrics, which I think is great. If you look at the pictures of the dolls, it's fairly clear to say that they're not really clothed for burial. That is to say, they're not in the traditional burial clothes of the time. It's more of garments kind of representing clothes, everyday wear, or maybe not garments at all, just to cover the dolls.
It's basically chunks of cloth that they just put over the top of them, right?
So they're not naked.
Yeah, except that they weren't actually just placed on top of them like a blanket. They were actually sewn into sleeves and pants. In fact, some of the dolls that were missing arms, also there are not armholes where an arm would have been. The seam is sewn up over that missing arm, so they were clothed for the purpose of going into those coffins once the coffins were made to size, which is fairly interesting. No? You guys are looking at me like this is boring.
Well, no, this fashion
You don't
stuff and
get it.
how
That's
what
fine.
thread count and notions are. I don't get it.
Yeah. So this is actually the bit. I'll just get to the bit that excites me a lot. The curator of European textiles at the National Museum of Scotland looked at these garments, and she noticed that the thread that had been used in some of the garments was 3-ply cotton thread.
Wait, what?
Okay, 3-ply cotton thread. So you know what plies are, because you buy toilet paper,
Yeah.
right? You
I
know that
do.
3-ply is there's 3 layers.
Yes.
2-ply is 2 layers, and single-ply is 1 layer.
Never use single ply
Right. Why would you ever do that?
to yourself.
It's awful. But the same thing goes for thread. You can make thread with just 1 strand, or you can make it with multiple strands. It's stronger,
So
better.
it's 3 strands wound
Yeah,
around each other.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. Okay, got it.
This is significant because the kind of thread, this 3-ply cotton thread, wasn't even remotely available prior to 1812 and didn't become readily available and used until the 1830s. So that can help us give a bit of a timeline for these garments. And it is fair to say that some of the other garments were sewn with 2 or 1-ply thread, so they could have been sewn earlier.
But at the same time, people don't just pitch stuff out.
Right.
I mean, I've actually got sewing thread that I inherited from my mother, and who knows? She might have inherited it
From her grandmother.
mother.
Yeah, because if you don't use it all, why throw it out?
Yeah,
You'll
exactly.
use it sometime,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, there's a couple of loops there. You hang on to them for a quick stitch job you need.
Yeah, so this allows us to date the dolls as having likely been interred between the 1820s, mid-1820s to mid-1830s, likely 1825 to 1835, just for convenience sake. I would say it's a pretty good time frame
I'll
based
buy it.
on cotton thread. So at first, the suspicion was that these dolls were related to witchcraft.
That's what I would have concluded.
Which, I mean, this is kind of late for the witchcraft bandwagon. It's not the 1600s. But
I think probably at that time, probably still a lot of people were kind of believing in that stuff.
Well, it turns out, as recently as 1997, some women in Russia were murdered because they used folk magic on some people. They were burned at the stake.
Oh yeah,
in 1997.
No, I mean even in the 21st century, I mean there have been rumors of witchcraft started in some countries in Africa, and next thing you know, people are getting killed because of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's still going on.
Yeah. People thought maybe because they were mixing voodoo and witchcraft up. I'm not totally sure. I'm not up on my witchcraft stuff. I guess I should go back and do some learning. I didn't realize that they used dolls, but I guess the theory was that maybe the dolls were used to symbolically confine victims to their tombs forever.
Well, the dolls could be, they're an effigy. And effigies have a pretty long history, and they've been used for lots of things. Traditional burial things, when a sarcophagus is not the right thing, but if you see the old stone carvings of kings that sit on top of their caskets, that's an effigy. But effigies have been used in all scales for all kinds of practices through time. So an effigy can easily be linked to it. I don't think it has to just be a voodoo thing.
Fair. Yeah. And I guess we're in theories now.
Oh, yeah.
So let's just keep talking about theories.
Oh, okay.
Another primary early theory was that these dolls were meant to represent, in effigy a bit, sailors who had been lost at sea, to give them a sort of ceremonial burial. And like we said earlier, Arthur's Seat is just about 2 miles away from the coast of the North Sea. It does overlook the sea. It's pretty. It's the kind of place you might bury somebody you cared about, even if only in a 4-inch long doll.
That makes sense, but you would think there'd be some sort of memorial marker.
You would think that.
Yeah.
You would also think that there would have been some sort of record of the lost of 17 souls.
I don't think they bothered back in those days.
Again, okay. I'm going to point out a fallacy in that which is you're presuming that all 17 died at the same time.
Yeah.
We're giving a 10-year range for these things to have been interred, which means that even if it wasn't over that 10-year time span, there could have been time between them being put in there.
That's fair, yeah.
So it could be, I knew Steve and Joe went on this ship, and then that whaling ship sank. So I made effigies so I could bury them at home. And then,
and thanks, by the way.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And then the next ship that you know a couple of guys are on, and so it could have built up that way.
That's fair.
I mean, we've got to be careful of saying they were all interred at the same time.
Yeah.
With that idea.
That's fair. That's totally fair. I guess I just think there's a cooler theory out there.
There is.
I hate
You
this
hate
theory.
this theory
What's
so
I hate
much.
this one.
Why? Do you want to talk about that first, or do you want to talk about it after?
Let's wait till after.
Okay.
No, let's talk about your feelings.
Yeah.
Let's not.
No? You don't
No,
want to have
I'm not a big
therapy?
talking about my feelings guy.
Podcast
No.
therapy session?
No. This is not that podcast.
Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Are you guys up on your early 19th century murders in Scotland?
Indeed.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, some listeners may be as well, so you might know these guys, William Burke and William Hare. Yeah?
Yeah.
Burke and Hare were Irish-born immigrants to Scotland. They are so famous, in fact, that there's apparently a British term called burking, which is derived from Burke's name. So why are they famous? You may be asking if you don't know, if you're not up like we are on our early 19th century murders in Scotland.
Yeah.
Well, for killing people, of course.
A lot of people.
The Killins.
The Killins, they are the guys behind what's known as the Westport murders, and they killed 16 people in 10 months. But Devin, you're yelling undoubtedly at your iPod in the car, and people think you're crazy. There were 17 dolls. Well, kind listener, that's interesting because Burke and Hare were killing folks to sell to a doctor to dissect, and they actually sold 17 bodies. The first one died of natural causes. That was their,
And that
introductory one.
That was their inspiration. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, wow.
They thought, oh, let's sell him.
And then they're waiting for somebody else to die of natural causes, and they thought, let's just rush the process a little bit.
Yeah, so he expired of natural causes, and they basically realized how much money they could make and said, hey, why don't we just kill some people, sell their bodies?
What did they get for this? So they sold it to a professor
A doctor named Dr. Knox.
who was using him for
Lectures.
That's what it was. Okay, all right.
So they actually sold the first body for a hefty £7, 10 shillings, which doesn't sound like